Hello, middle school. It's Miss Anderson again. I'm here with you for our second lesson. This one is covering the blues. So last week we went over to this one. We did Native American music. I'm just gonna go through this really quick. You guys took a quiz. Hopefully, if you haven't done it, please make sure that you do this. What I did last week is I just talked through these slides right here. We watched a couple videos, and then there was a quiz that you're supposed to take at the end. So if you haven't done that, again, make sure that you do that because those quizzes are going to be graded. They're not very hard and they're not very long. They're only maybe 4 or 5 questions and they're super easy, and you can watch the video while you answer the questions. So I'm making it very easy on you. Just make sure that you do it because those points are graded. So I hope you guys are doing really good at home. We're going to jump in here. So the blues is our genre that we're going to focus on this week. I know at the very beginning of the school year, we were talking about musical genres. And I think one of the first ones we talked about was the blues, but we didn't quite get as far as I wanted to on the blues. And like I said last week, I'm only touching on these subjects because there's so much to learn about every single one of these genres that I can't possibly go into everything. So this is just kind of an overview of what this music genre is. So the blues, I'm going to hit present here. Okay. All right. So here we go. The blues. The blues originated in the Deep South around the 1870s by African Americans. So the Deep South would be Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, way down south there in the USA. The blues has major ties to African musical traditions that is blended with work songs, spirituals, and hollers and chants that were sung in the South. So what kind of people do you think were singing those work songs, spirituals, and chants in the South during this time? And then I'm going to go down to this question. I'm going to ask you a question here. I want you to think about it. I'm going to ask it on the quiz that I give you guys later. What historical event happened in 1865 that could be related to this? Why did this musical genre pick up after 1865 and not before? So what happened in 1865 that allowed this music to be able to be played? Because this music was not around, elements of it were around before that, before 1865. But after 1865, there was more freedom to explore this genre. So what happened? I'm going to put that on the quiz, so make sure that you think about that. Now this video, I'm going to try to make it a little bit shorter because last week it got a little bit long. So we're just going to make it a little shorter here just so you know. All right, characteristics of the blues. There are many different types of the blues, but they all have a lot in common. Here are some of the common characteristics. So the first one, call and response, which we know a lot about because we do it a lot in music class, especially when we were doing those bucket drumming. The bucket drumming that we did for the concert, there was a lot of call and response involved in that. And it's kind of self-explanatory. It's in the name. So call and response is where, well, I'll just read it right here. So many blues songs will have call and response in them. This is where someone plays or sings something and another person repeats it or responds to it. And then on the next slide, we're going to go further into that. So we're going to move on here. Another characteristic of the blues is AAB pattern. And I know we talked about this at the beginning of the school year. I think I actually had some of you guys try to write your own AAB pattern. But the lyrics to the song are very commonly the same line twice and then a different line the third time. All right, so you would have a line here like, well, I'll show you in the next slide as well. I have some lyrics that we're going to put up. But remember, AAB pattern. All right, the next one, I'm just going to kind of gloss over because this part is a little bit complicated. So another characteristic of the blues is the 12-bar blues, common chord progressions, and common bass lines. And those are all elements of music that give it that bluesy sound. But we're not going to go too into that stuff. Another characteristic of the blues is sad or melancholy lyrics. So you all know when people say that you've got the blues or they've got the blues, that they're feeling kind of down or they're feeling sad about something or something bad happened in their life. So a lot of the lyrics in these songs are sad. That's why they call it the blues. Last one right here. Especially in the early blues, the instrumentation was mostly guitar and voice, although as it kind of developed through time, other instruments were added to it. Other genres were kind of mixed in with the blues that introduced it to more instruments. But just remember, at the very beginning, it was mostly guitar and voice. All right. Okay, so here's call and response, and this is what I was just talking about. Call and response has been used in music since the beginning of time. All right, like I say something, you say it back. I sing something, you sing it back. This is where a leader says or plays something in a group, or another individual will repeat that or respond to it in some way. So it doesn't have to be that they're repeating it exactly the same way as the leader. They can respond to it a different way. But a lot of times it's the same. So like when we were drumming using the bucket drums, I would play something, I would play a rhythm, and then you guys would play that rhythm. Another example would be that's not where they repeat it exactly the same as if you've ever heard the saying or the song shave and a haircut 2 bits. So somebody would say shave and a haircut, and then the next person would say 2 bits. I don't know if you guys have heard of that or not. If not, that's okay. You can just ignore that. All right. So here's an example of call and response. This is from Kenya. Hopefully this works here. All right. So this is not the blues. All right. This is not the blues, but it does give us an example of call and response that is kind of it's kind of cool to watch. So we're not going to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to skip around so you guys can kind of see what this call and response looks like over there. So we're going to skip to about here, I think. Okay, so you can hear that this girl right here, she's the leader. So she is doing that solo at the beginning, and then everybody else is repeating what she is singing. So that's a good example of what call and response is, and call and response is it's something that it's all over the world. So it's not just in Africa, it's not just in Kenya, it's all over. But that's just kind of a good example of what call and response is. All right, so this is another video. It's kind of a short video that kind of shows us call and response in a different way. So in the blues, people can do call and response by singing with each other, or instruments can imitate each other. So we're gonna watch this video right here. This one's kind of cool. It's only about 2.5
One of the
minutes.
ways that we communicate in jazz is through what we call call and response.
So they're talking about jazz, but this is also an element in the blues, and the blues and jazz kind of get mixed up because there's a lot of blues in jazz, and there's a lot of jazz and blues. So it kind of turns into a melting pot with music genres there. So I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit.
Like this, Alvin.
So you can see that they're using two different instruments. It doesn't have to be two different instruments. It can be the same instrument, but it's one person playing something and then another person kind of repeating that. This one's just kind of cool because you don't usually see drummers imitating or repeating another instrument. So that one's kind of cool. Let's see what else it says here. Okay, so you can kind of hear that now. And this is a jazz song, a very popular jazz song, and you can kind of hear, even though this drummer is keeping a beat, he's keeping a rhythm the whole time, he's also kind of repeating what the piano player is doing. So the piano player will play a little rhythm over here, and then the drummer will try to repeat that. So see if you can hear that. It's kind of hard to hear, but see if you can spot that. Okay, so we're gonna move on. So that's call and response. You guys get the idea with call and response. And what we are gonna talk about jazz, possibly next week, and we'll touch on that again as well, but we won't spend too much time on it. All right, so AAB pattern. One line is sung twice while the third line is different. This is not necessary to make something the blues, but it is something you will hear a lot. So you can have a blues song that is not AAB pattern, but it's very common for it to be AAB pattern. So we're gonna look at this, and if you were here at the beginning of the year again, I showed you guys this song, I believe, and we kind of looked through the lyrics. But this is a very popular AAB blues song, AAB pattern blues song. So it's called Backwater Blues, and I'm just gonna read through it right here, and I want you to look for that AAB pattern. So this first line is, when it rained 5 days and the sky turned black or turned dark as night. And then the second line, when it rained 5 days and the sky turned dark as night. Then the third line, then troubles taken place in the lowlands at night. So this first one, pretend that I'm writing an A right there. Okay, that's A. And then the second line is the same exact thing, so that's another A. And then the third line is different, so then that's B. All right, so that's that pattern. All right, so the next verse. A, I woke up this morning, can't even get out of my door. A, again, I woke up this morning, can't even get out of my door. B, there's enough trouble to make a poor girl wonder where she want to go. All right, then, going back. Then, so A right here, then they rowed a little boat about 5 miles across the pond. A, again, they rowed a little boat about 5 miles across the pond. I packed up all my clothes, threw them in, and they rowed me along. So that's B. All right, I'm just going to read through this real fast here. When it thundered and lightened and the winds began to blow, when it thunders and lightning and the winds begin to blow, there's 1,000 people, they had no place to go. All right, next verse. And I went out and stood up on some high old lonesome hill. I went out and stood up on some high old lonesome hill, then looked down on the house where I used to live. Backwater Blues done called me to pack my things and go. Backwater Blues done called me to pack my things and go because my house fell down. I can't live there no more. All right, and then this is the last part right here. This is also AAB. I can't move no more. I can't move no more. There ain't no place for a poor old girl to go. All right, so you can see that AAB pattern is very obvious in this song. And we're just going to listen just a tiny bit of this song. This is Bessie Smith, and she's a very famous blues singer from way back in the day. But we're just going to listen to a little bit of it. When it rained 5 days and the sky turned dark as night. These are just photographs of her, old photographs of her. When it rained 5 days and the sky turned dark as night. Then trouble taking place in the lowlands at night. So that's going into the second verse there. But you can hear that AAB pattern. You can also hear that kind of melancholy melody, that melancholy sound or sad sound that the blues is known for. So I'm going to play just a couple more seconds. I want you to listen for that sad melody, that sad sound. I woke up this morning, can't even get out of my door. There's enough trouble to make a poor girl wonder where she wanna go. So this is obviously not a happy song. You can tell by the lyrics and by how she's singing it. This is not exactly the happiest of songs. One question for you down here. Oh, everything is popping up. Okay. If you can see it, it says, what do you think this song is about? And I know we talked about it at the beginning of the year. If you don't remember, see if you can read through the lyrics again. And this is going to be on the quiz. And if you get the wrong answer, it's not a big deal. But I want you to think about what these lyrics mean and what is this song about. All right. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the blues originated in the Deep South, right? And it started out pretty simple. It started out with simple instruments, simple vocals. Maybe one person was singing by themselves, maybe two people. But as time went by and as the blues kind of moved to different parts of the country, it changed. So there are different types of the blues. Although the blues all originated from the same place, the Deep South, eventually it branched off into different subgenres. So subgenre are these right here. So there are genres within the bigger genre of the blues. Some of these subgenres are Chicago blues, Delta blues, Piedmont blues, West Coast blues, country blues, and electric blues. So you can see a lot of it is geographical. So as the blues moved to different parts of the country, the sound kind of changed, and that happens a lot with music. You can also see that it kind of got mixed in with different types of music, right? So country blues, that's when blues and country kind of mixed and created kind of a fusion. And then electric blues is kind of when they went electric with their guitars, because before it was just all acoustic guitars. So then they plugged in their instruments and became electric blues. The blues has influenced many other genres of music, including rock and roll and jazz and many, many others. You can see elements of the blues in a lot of the music we hear today. So a lot of the elements we talked about, call and response, those types of lyrics, a lot of that you'll still see today. All right. The last slide. So I'm not going to have you guys watch clips of these musicians right here in this video with me, but I will post the links to a couple, maybe not all of these, but a couple blues musicians so you can hear what they sound like. You can see that some of these, so I'll just go through. Muddy Waters, he was one of the early ones. He was born in 1915. This is him right here, to 1983. All right. The very, very early ones, like we said that the blues started in the 1870s. The very early ones, a lot of them weren't famous. A lot of them, their name wasn't known. It was just a lot of people would play that type of music. But when you get into the 1900s and stuff, then people started becoming more famous for this genre. So here's Muddy Waters. B.B. King, he lived all the way until 2015. All right, so this is B.B. King right here. He is Chicago blues, all right, which is a little bit of a different sound. Howlin' Wolf, he's a very famous blues musician, and that's Howlin' Wolf right here, this third one. He was from 1910 to 1976. Robert Johnson, he is also one of the very first ones, all right, and he did not live very long at all. As you can see, at 1911 and 1938. He was pretty young when he died. And then these are vocalists. Bessie Smith. She, again, 1894. That's when she was born. That's a long time ago. 1894 to 1937. That's Bessie Smith, and that's who we heard. That's who we heard sing "Backwater Blues" just a couple minutes ago. Ma Rainey, 1886 to 1939. Also very old, one of the very first blues singers. Okay. And then this is a more modern one. Janis Joplin. You might have heard her name before, 1943 to 1970. And a lot of people say, she's kind of a mix between rock and roll and blues and different genres. But I wanted to include her in here so you guys could see that even though she is rock and roll, she has incorporated a lot of blues into her music, and you'll hear that when if you click on the link that I post later. All right, so that's about it. Again, like I said, I was just touching on this. There's way more to learn about it. If you want to look up more famous musicians, if you want to look up these different musicians right here and find some stuff out about them, you're more than welcome to. Again, if you do any research and you find anything interesting on your own, make sure to post it. You can post it as a comment. You can email it to me. You can share it with a class on Google Classroom. I encourage you guys to do that. You don't have to do it, but if you're interested in it, make sure you do that because it's kind of cool to share things that we've learned. So the last thing I'm going to remind you to do is to take this quiz on the blues after this. It's only going to be a few questions. It's not going to be hard. You can watch the video again to do it if you would like. So if you haven't done the Native American quiz from last week, make sure you do this one. Or make sure you do that one. Make sure you do this one. Try to get them done because I post these on Mondays. So try to get the quiz done by Friday. So I give you the whole week to do this lesson. All right. So make sure that you do that because that's a lot of time. All right. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you have a great week. Keep checking on Google Classroom because I keep posting videos. You can comment, blah, blah, blah. If you see a cool video that you want to post, you can do that too. But anyway, I'll leave you alone. Have a great rest of your day.